Dr. Evelyn Stone, stethoscope still warm around her neck from a life saved an hour ago, stood rigid in her father's mahogany-scented office. "Medicine isn't for women at this level, Evelyn," Dr. Arthur Stone declared, his voice cutting through the silence. "The practice goes to Daniel." The words, sharper than any scalpel, tore through 2 decades of her dedication, but in the echoing silence, a different kind of resolve hardened within her, not defeat, but a furious, unshakable intent to build something far greater. The heavy oak door of Dr. Arthur Stone's office might as well have been the gates of a forgotten kingdom, slamming shut on Evelyn's legacy. His words, chillingly calm, had just echoed through the ornate space, systematically dismantling her future. "Evelyn, you are brilliant, yes. But the Stone Medical Group needs a steady hand, a man's hand, to guide it into the next generation. Daniel will take over." A guttural sound threatened to escape Evelyn's throat, but she swallowed it, holding her posture rigid. 2 decades. 2 decades of early mornings, late nights, groundbreaking research, and a patient loyalty that spoke volumes. All of it dismissed with a wave of her father's hand, a hand that once patted her head with pride, now dismissing her very essence. Daniel, her younger brother, whose medical career was marked more by apathy than aptitude, stood beside Arthur, a faint, almost apologetic smirk playing on his lips. His white coat looked less like a uniform of service and more like a costume he'd hastily donned for the occasion. The injustice was a physical blow, stealing the air from her lungs. Arthur, his silver hair immaculate, his gaze unyielding, continued, "It's simply the way of things, my dear. Patients, especially the older ones, prefer a male doctor in charge. It's a matter of stability. Gravitas." Gravitas, a word Evelyn knew he'd never apply to a woman, no matter her achievements. It was his 18th century mindset manifesting, not as an antiquated belief, but as a venomous, living thing, actively sabotaging her life. Leaving the office felt like wading through thick, crushing water. The opulent waiting room, filled with faces that knew and respected her, seemed to blur into an indistinguishable mass of judgment. She found her mother in the corridor, fidgeting with her pearl necklace, clearly having anticipated the outcome. "Evelyn, darling," her mother began, a brittle smile on her lips, "it's for the best, you know. Now you can focus on finding a good husband. Settle down. You don't need the stress of all this." The words were a fresh wound, a tacit endorsement of Arthur's decision, a reminder that even her own mother saw her primary value in domesticity, not her unparalleled skill. The path ahead suddenly seemed suffocated by expectation and prejudice. But beneath the initial shock and the raw sting of betrayal, something new sparked. It wasn't the familiar ache of disappointment, but a cold, hard resolve. A fury that burned clean and bright. Asterisk, he thinks I need a man's hand? He thinks a woman can't lead. Asterisk, Evelyn's joy tightened. She wouldn't just survive, she would thrive. She wouldn't just build something, she would build an empire that would make his legacy look like a forgotten footnote. Her first stop was Dr. Eleanor Vance's office, a sanctuary of intellect and unwavering support. Eleanor, a pioneering cardiologist, listened with quiet intensity as Evelyn recounted the devastating decree. There was no pity in Eleanor's eyes, only a fierce, understanding warmth. "Arthur's loss, Evelyn, not yours," Eleanor stated, her voice calm but resonant. "He's so trapped in his antiquated world, he can't see the future walking right past him. But you can build it." And just like that, the seed of an idea, fertilized by injustice and watered by determination, began to sprout. Evelyn laid out her vision, a practice built on empathy, innovation, and cutting-edge medicine, a place where patients were partners, not just symptoms. "I'll call it Stone Family Health," she declared, the irony not lost on either of them. "But it will be my family, Eleanor. A family of dedicated healers, unburdened by prejudice." Eleanor smiled, a genuine, encouraging smile. "Tell me, Evelyn, what do you need to begin? The world is ready for your kind of medicine." The path was fraught with challenges, she knew, but for the first time since Arthur's decree, Evelyn felt not the weight of oppression, but the exhilarating thrill of a new beginning, a fight she was destined to win. The exhilarating thrill propelled Dr. Evelyn Stone forward, a burning resolve replacing the bitter sting of betrayal. She plunged headfirst into the daunting task of building Stone Family Health, a name chosen not for familial lineage, but as a promise to every individual who walked through her doors: compassionate, patient-centered care. Her father had denied her a legacy, but he could not deny her a future. The first hurdle was financial. Every bank she approached saw not a visionary physician with a flawless record, but a woman trying to start a competing practice against an established, patriarchal institution. Loan officers, predominantly male, offered polite but dismissive smiles, their words veiled with suggestions to perhaps reconsider or join an existing group. One particularly patronizing individual even suggested she might be more comfortable in a less demanding specialty. Each rejection fueled her, crystallizing Arthur Stone's narrow worldview into a tangible barrier. With relentless research and a meticulously crafted business plan that anticipated every potential pitfall, Evelyn finally secured a substantial loan from a small, progressive credit union led by a woman who saw her ambition, not her gender. It was a victory, but a hard-won one, leaving her acutely aware of the systemic prejudices she still faced. Next came the location. She scoured the city, her criteria precise, accessible, welcoming, and, crucially, within a short drive of Stone Medical Group. Not out of malice, but strategic necessity. She needed to offer a tangible alternative. After weeks of tireless searching, she found it, an abandoned but structurally sound building on the city's burgeoning west side, offering ample parking and easy public transport access. It was less glamorous than her father's long-established brownstone, but it possessed potential, a blank canvas upon which to paint her vision. The transformation was Evelyn's personal crusade. She oversaw every detail, from the calming color palette of the waiting room to the state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment. Unlike her father's office, where patients often felt like numbers shuffling through an assembly line, Evelyn designed a space that prioritized comfort, privacy, and genuine human connection. The consultation rooms were spacious, not sterile. The reception area felt more like a cozy lounge than a cold gateway to medicine. She envisioned extended hours, direct patient communication, and a holistic approach that addressed not just symptoms, but the person behind them. It was a stark contrast to the old-world rigidity of Stone Medical Group, where appointment slots were dictated by the doctor's convenience, and innovation was viewed with suspicion. Finding staff was a revelation. While many of her former colleagues were bound by non-compete clauses or loyalty to Arthur, Evelyn sought those who shared her ethos. She found Sarah Jensen, a seasoned nurse practitioner with 2 decades of experience, whose eyes lit up when Evelyn described her patient-first philosophy. Sarah, too, had grown weary of the impersonal, profit-driven models creeping into healthcare. Her calm demeanor and extensive knowledge became an immediate cornerstone of Stone Family Health, a trusted partner who understood the profound shift Evelyn was trying to enact. Other hires followed: a compassionate medical assistant, a detail-oriented office manager, all drawn by Evelyn's infectious enthusiasm and clear vision. Meanwhile, just a few miles away, Dr. Arthur Stone remained blissfully unaware, his mind consumed by the daily headaches of running his inherited practice. Daniel, his supposed heir, was struggling. He frequently mixed up patient charts, often ran late, and lacked the clinical intuition that had once been the hallmark of Stone Medical Group. Patients complained of longer wait times and a distinct lack of personal touch. Arthur, in his patriarchal blindness, blamed the new generation of patients for being too demanding, too entitled. He'd bark orders at Daniel, attributing his son's mediocrity to a lack of grit rather than genuine incompetence. The irony was palpable. As Evelyn meticulously laid the foundation for a medical revolution, her father remained trapped in the crumbling edifice of his own making, his outdated worldview preventing him from seeing the storm gathering on the horizon. He believed his daughter was merely nursing a bruised ego, not building an empire designed to redefine the very landscape of healthcare. Dr. Evelyn Stone's new practice, Stone Family Health, was no longer a whispered rumor. It was a burgeoning reality. Weeks blurred into months, and each day brought a steady influx of new patients, drawn by the clinic's extended evening hours, state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment, and, most importantly, Evelyn's philosophy of truly patient-centered care. She made eye contact, listened intently, and treated every individual not just as a medical case, but as a person with a story and concerns that mattered. Mrs. Eleanor Albright, a spry woman in her 70s who had been a patient of Arthur's for decades, became an unwitting evangelist. She raved to her bridge club about the young Dr. Stone who remembered her grandchildren's names and actually called with follow-up results, rather than having her wait weeks for a generic letter. "It's like going to a doctor who actually cares," Mrs. Albright would exclaim, "not just one who thinks he's doing you a favor." This sentiment, echoed by countless others, was the silent, devastating weapon Evelyn wielded. Meanwhile, just 3 miles away, the grand, albeit slightly faded, facade of Stone Legacy Medical was beginning to show cracks. Patient numbers, once a reliable torrent, had dwindled to a trickle. The waiting room, usually bustling, often sat half-empty, a silent testament to the exodus. Daniel, overwhelmed and perpetually behind, blamed the flu season lasting too long or those new insurance plans. Arthur, however, was not so easily deluded. The first time a long-standing patient, Mr. Henderson, explained his departure with a casual, "Oh, I'm just seeing your daughter now, Arthur. She's wonderful," a vein pulsed in Arthur's temple. When it happened a second, then a third time, the mild irritation curdled into a furious, possessive rage. How dared she poach his patients? His clinic was a hallowed institution, a legacy built on generations of Stone men. This was not competition. This was an act of betrayal. Dr. Ben Carter, a senior physician at Stone Legacy Medical who had quietly observed Arthur's entrenched sexism for years, felt a growing unease. He saw the quality of care at Arthur's practice falter as Daniel struggled, and the palpable shift in patient loyalty. Discreetly, he made an appointment with Evelyn, ostensibly for a consultation. In the privacy of her office, the older doctor leaned forward, his voice a low murmur. "Evelyn," he began, "your father, he's not taking this well. He sees it as a personal affront, a challenge to his very authority. Be careful. Arthur doesn't just get angry, he lashes out." Evelyn nodded, her jaw tight. She knew her father. She had prepared for this. The call came 2 days later, the caller ID screaming, "Stone Legacy Medical." Evelyn took a deep breath before answering. "Evelyn, what the devil do you think you're doing?" Arthur's voice boomed, thick with indignation. "Sabotage, that's what it is. Stealing my patients, undermining my practice, just because you couldn't accept your place." "My place, father," Evelyn retorted, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands, "is where I can best serve patients. And if my practice, built on merit and dedication, attracts people who feel neglected by yours, that's not sabotage. That's simply a better standard of care." "Better standard," he scoffed, his anger escalating. "You're a woman, Evelyn. You have no business trying to outmaneuver a man in his domain. This is a family legacy, not some petty competition for you to win." "It was a family legacy, father," Evelyn corrected, "until you decided my gender disqualified me. Now it's my legacy I'm building, and it will be one based on skill, not on outdated prejudice." She ended the call, her chest heaving, the bitter taste of his entrenched sexism a familiar and infuriating tang on her tongue. Later that week, Daniel appeared at Stone Family Health, his usual impeccably tailored suit looking a little rumpled, his face drawn. He looked around the bustling waiting room with a flicker of awe and envy. "Evelyn," he began, sidling up to her after her last patient, "this is a lot. Dad's really losing it. The practice is a mess. Can't you? Couldn't you just ease up a little? He's your father, after all. He's heartbroken." He wrung his hands, a pathetic attempt to elicit sympathy. Evelyn turned to him, her gaze sharp. "Heartbroken, Daniel? Or just furious that his 18th century mindset is proving to be a catastrophic business model?" You stood by, complicit, while he disinherited me for being a woman. You accepted his prejudice as your golden ticket. You benefited from his archaic views. So no, she said, her voice cutting through his self-pity, I won't ease up. This isn't just about me anymore. This is about proving that competence, not gender, dictates worth. And you, Daniel, chose your side long ago. She watched him wilt, his entitlement crumbling under the weight of her conviction, and felt not an ounce of regret. Dr. Arthur Stone watched his patient numbers dwindle, a bitter pill swallowed with each empty chair in the waiting room that once overflowed. The whispers among his remaining staff were impossible to ignore, all pointing to Evelyn's burgeoning practice. In a desperate, belated attempt to stem the bleeding, he ordered his team to adopt modern approaches, mirroring Evelyn's innovations. Extended evening hours were grudgingly implemented, a new, clunky online appointment system was installed, and Daniel, ever the reluctant heir, was instructed to be more engaging with patients, a task he performed with the enthusiasm of a man facing a root canal. But these were superficial imitations, a veneer over a practice deeply rooted in Arthur's outdated, patriarchal command and control style. Without the genuine patient-centered philosophy, the dedicated staff, or the modern, empathetic leadership Evelyn provided, Arthur's attempts felt hollow, often resulting in more confusion than convenience. Evelyn, meanwhile, was not merely reacting, she was innovating. Recognizing a critical gap in local healthcare, she launched a comprehensive chronic disease management program. This wasn't just about treating symptoms, it was about empowering patients with diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease through personalized care plans, regular monitoring, and educational workshops led by her specialized team. It was a commitment to long-term well-being that her father's more traditional, acute care model simply couldn't match. Her practice became a beacon for those seeking not just a doctor, but a true healthcare partner. The success of Evelyn's new program was a fresh insult to Arthur's wounded pride, especially as his own practice teetered on the brink of financial ruin. His antiquated mind, unable to reconcile a woman's superior ability with his ingrained prejudices, rationalized her triumph as an act of calculated sabotage. His rage, a slow-burning fire now stoked to a furnace, solidified into a dangerous resolve. A formal-looking envelope arrived at Stone Family Health, a cease and desist letter laden with spurious accusations of unfair competition and poaching patients. Evelyn read it, her jaw tight, but felt no fear, only a deeper resolve. This was Arthur's panic, his last gasp of control. But Arthur wasn't done. Weeks later, an official letter from the state medical board landed on Evelyn's desk, coldly informing her of a formal complaint filed against her. The accusation: professional misconduct, unethical advertising, and gross negligence, a blatant attempt to revoke her license. It was a direct, malicious attack designed to obliterate her career and destroy everything she had built. The air in her office grew heavy with the gravity of the threat. "This is unconscionable," Ms. Regina Hayes, Evelyn's formidable lawyer, stated, her voice sharp as she reviewed the complaint. "A transparent attempt by your father to eliminate his competition." Evelyn gathered her team, her eyes scanning their worried faces. "We will fight this. Every accusation is baseless, and we have the records to prove it." Together with Ms. Hayes, they meticulously compiled every patient record, every financial statement, every marketing flyer, building an airtight defense. Sarah Jensen, her loyal nurse practitioner, worked tirelessly, cross-referencing patient testimonials and treatment outcomes. Dr. Liam O'Connell, one of her newer, dynamic physicians, spent hours with her, dissecting the medical board's allegations, preparing their rebuttal. The process was exhausting, draining, but Evelyn's resolve, forged in the fires of injustice, never wavered. During this grueling period, the silence from her mother and Daniel was deafening. The few times Evelyn tried to reach out, her calls went unanswered, her texts unreturned. She was, in their eyes, an outcast, a pariah who had dared to challenge the patriarch. The emotional cost was immense, a deep ache in her heart for the family she had lost, or perhaps, never truly had. But with each ostracizing silence, each petty snub, her determination only hardened. She wasn't just fighting for her practice anymore. She was fighting for her right to exist, to lead, to heal on her own terms. The legal gauntlet was a crucible, and Evelyn Stone emerged from it not broken, but refined, sharper, and utterly unyielding. The medical board's verdict arrived not with a bang, but a terse, official letter, its language dry and procedural. No evidence of professional misconduct or unethical practices found. Evelyn read the words, a profound exhalation escaping her lips, a weight she hadn't realized she was carrying finally lifted. It was a public vindication, a clear pronouncement that her methods were not only sound but unimpeachable. The legal gauntlet had ended, not with a whimper, but with the quiet triumph of justice. She called Miss Hayes, whose calm, professional voice expressed a satisfaction that mirrored Evelyn's own. The air in Stone family health seemed to crackle with renewed energy, a collective sense of relief and burgeoning pride. Before Evelyn could fully savor this hard-won reprieve, an unexpected visitor darkened her clinic's doorway. Dr. Ben Carter, his usually stern face etched with a weary resignation, stood before her, not as a spy from her father's empire, but as a man seeking escape. "Evelyn," he began, his voice low, "I'm retiring. Effective immediately." He looked away, then back, a flicker of disgust in his eyes. "Arthur's practice, it's become untenable. His refusal to adapt, his toxic environment. It's not just costing him patients, it's costing him his dignity, and mine." He handed her a folder. "These are the names of over 150 patients. My patients. They trust me. I've told them about you, about your practice, your modern approach, your patient-first philosophy. They'll be calling." It was an unprecedented act of defiance, a testament to how deeply Arthur's antiquated prejudices and disastrous management had alienated even his most loyal. Evelyn felt a surge of gratitude, mixed with a chilling realization of her father's crumbling world. The dismissal of the complaint, coupled with Dr. Carter's endorsement, acted as a powerful accelerant. Stone family health exploded in growth. The waiting room, once comfortably spacious, now perpetually hummed with activity. New patients flocked, drawn by word of mouth, glowing online reviews, and the stark contrast to the stagnant, impersonal care offered by Arthur's aging institution. Evelyn's vision of patient-centered care, longer appointment times, proactive wellness programs, seamless digital records, was not just a philosophy, it was a revolution. The small facility was quickly overwhelmed. "We need more space," Sarah Jensen, her head nurse, declared, her eyes gleaming with the thrill of expansion. "And more hands on deck." Evelyn agreed, her thoughts already on architectural plans and staffing. Dr. Liam O'Connell, a young, empathetic internist with a passion for community health, was their first new hire, bringing fresh energy and expertise. The accolades soon followed. At the annual Medical Association Gala, a glittering affair Evelyn had typically avoided, she found herself on stage, accepting the prestigious Rising Star in Healthcare award. The presenter lauded her innovative approach, her commitment to patient advocacy, and her rapid impact on the local medical landscape. As the applause washed over her, Evelyn couldn't help but wonder if her father, somewhere in the city, was aware of this public, undeniable testament to her superiority. The irony was palpable. The very woman he'd dismissed as incapable was now the beacon of the industry he'd claimed for himself. While Evelyn's star ascended, the once unshakable edifice of Stone Medical Group began to visibly crumble. Patients, alienated by Daniel's disinterest and Arthur's rigid adherence to outdated practices, left in droves. Revenue plummeted. The sprawling, traditional office now felt cavernous and empty, echoing with the silence of lost opportunity. Eventually, a discreet "for sale" sign appeared in its window, a stark admission of defeat. But no buyers materialized. Who wanted to acquire a failing practice run into the ground by a patriarch too stubborn to adapt, too prejudiced to see the talent right in front of him? Arthur's empire, built on the shifting sands of patriarchy, was sinking, with no one willing to throw it a lifeline. One crisp autumn afternoon, a pale, defeated Daniel appeared at Evelyn's clinic. His usual carefully styled hair was disheveled, his eyes hollow. He didn't ask for a handout, didn't offer an excuse. "Evelyn," he said, his voice barely a whisper, "I'm leaving medicine." Moving away. He looked around her bustling clinic, at the happy patients, the engaged staff. This is what Dad always dreamed of, isn't it? A thriving practice. Only he was too blind to see you were the one who could build it. His confession, stripped of his usual entitlement, was a bitter acknowledgement of her superior ability, a final, painful admission that his father's sexist gamble had not just cost Evelyn, but had cost him his own direction and the Stone family its legacy. He turned and walked out, not looking back, leaving Evelyn with a complicated mix of pity and a hard-won satisfaction. The call came late, a frantic whisper from the hospital Arthur Stone had once presided over like a monarch. "Dr. Evelyn Stone? Your father, a massive coronary. He's asking for you." Evelyn's first reaction was a jolt of something cold and distant, a familiar shield against the complex knot of emotions her father invariably stirred. Pity warred with a bitter, unyielding resentment for years of dismissive prejudice, for the disinheritance that had simultaneously broken her and forged her. Yet, the Hippocratic oath, more deeply ingrained than any familial obligation, pulled her to his side. She was a doctor first. She found him in a private room, the imposing figure of her childhood reduced to a pale, frail man, tubes snaking from his arm, his breath shallow. His silver hair, once a symbol of authority, lay disheveled against the stark white pillow. He looked ancient, not just aged, but hollowed out, as if the very foundations of his being had crumbled. When his eyes fluttered open and met hers, there was no fire, no scorn, only a raw, unguarded vulnerability that Evelyn had never witnessed. "Evelyn," his voice was a raspy whisper, barely audible above the rhythmic hiss of the hospital machinery. I was wrong." The words, long awaited and utterly devastating in their delivery, hung heavy in the sterile air. A single tear traced a path down his weathered cheek. "So wrong. You were always the better doctor, the better person. I let my pride, my foolish, archaic notions, blind me." His hand, trembling, reached for hers, and Evelyn, against her every instinct, allowed him to grasp her fingers. "I destroyed everything. My legacy, Daniel's future, and I nearly destroyed yours. Can you ever forgive me?" Evelyn's chest tightened, a wave of profound sorrow washing over her. This was the moment she had, in some dark corner of her heart, yearned for, and now that it was here, it offered no simple catharsis. The pain of her past, the sting of every dismissal, every slight, was a scar, not an open wound, but a permanent mark nonetheless. "Father," she began, her voice steady, though her heart pounded. "I see your pain. I truly do. And I wish you no ill will. But what you did, it left scars. Deep ones." She squeezed his hand gently. "I can accept your apology. I can even understand, to a degree, the fear that drove you. But forget? No. And absolution. That's not mine to give, not for the parts of me that your actions broke." She paused, the weight of their shared history settling between them. "Our relationship, if it is to continue, must be on new terms. Terms of respect. Terms of equality." Arthur merely nodded, his eyes brimming with a silent understanding, a resignation to the consequences of a lifetime of stubborn prejudice. He had lost everything to his antiquated beliefs, and now, finally, he knew it. Weeks later, as he slowly recovered, the inevitable happened. His failed practice, Stone Medical Group, with its dwindling patient roster and demoralized staff, was sold to a faceless corporate healthcare conglomerate. The proud name, the family legacy he had so desperately sought to protect from his daughter, was erased, dissolved into a larger, impersonal entity. It was an ignominious end, a stark testament to the truth of Evelyn's vision over his own. Just as the dust settled on the finalization of the sale, a different kind of opportunity arrived for Evelyn. A national healthcare organization, impressed by the exponential growth and patient satisfaction scores of Stone Family Health, approached her with an unprecedented proposition. They wanted to replicate her patient-centered model, her ethos of compassionate, high-quality care, across the country. They wanted to franchise her vision. This wasn't just about another clinic, it was about changing the very fabric of healthcare. Evelyn, sitting across from the organization's CEO, felt a surge of exhilaration she hadn't anticipated. Her father had sought to confine her, to limit her influence based on her gender, but now, her reach would extend far beyond the city, beyond his wildest, most prejudiced imagination. This was her legacy, not inherited, but forged, brick by patient-centered brick, a testament to merit, compassion, and unwavering resolve. It was a new era, and Evelyn Stone was its architect. Arthur, a shadow of his former self, sat quietly at Evelyn's dinner table, a rare, almost timid guest. He spoke little of his past glory, instead listening intently as Evelyn discussed her plans for a new community outreach program. He didn't offer advice, didn't lecture, he simply observed, sometimes offering a small, knowing nod. Evelyn watched him, a part of her still wary, but another part acknowledged the raw humility in his eyes. He had started volunteering at one of her free clinics, his silver hair a stark contrast to the vibrant, young doctors. He performed basic checkups, his once commanding hands now gentle, unburdened by the weight of a failing empire. It was an unspoken atonement, a cautious olive branch offered not with words, but with genuine, consistent effort to be part of the world he had once scorned. Evelyn, still holding firm boundaries, permitted his presence, understanding that true regret was best proven by actions, not declarations. In quiet moments, Evelyn would reflect on the journey. The anger had long subsided, replaced by a deep, unwavering satisfaction. The truest form of revenge, she realized, wasn't about Arthur's downfall, but about her own ascendance. It was in the grateful smiles of her patients, the thriving careers of her staff, the innovative spirit that permeated Stone Family Health. Her success wasn't a sword, it was a beacon attracting those who believed in a better way. She hadn't just proven her father wrong, she had built something unequivocally right, something that healed not just bodies, but also the very concept of healthcare. The bitterness had been transmuted into purpose, forging a legacy that was entirely her own, free from the shadow of his outdated prejudice. The blueprints for the 12th franchise location lay spread across her desk, a bustling new city on the horizon. Dr. Liam O'Connell, now a trusted partner, pointed to a bustling downtown area. "This spot is perfect, Evelyn. High foot traffic, underserved community. We could be open in 6 months." Evelyn nodded, her gaze sweeping across the map. It wasn't just about expanding a business, it was about spreading a philosophy. Her patient-centered model, once dismissed as a feminine folly, was now a benchmark, a paradigm shift. Her father had wanted her to stay small, in her place. Now, her influence stretched across state lines, a testament to relentless vision and unwavering belief in merit. Her achievements stood as a monument to talent, compassion, and innovation, shattering the archaic prejudice that had almost defined her early career. Arthur Stone, the man who had once declared medicine was not for women at this level, had been proven catastrophically wrong. His name might have once been synonymous with a rigid, patriarchal medical practice, but it was Evelyn's name, Evelyn Stone, that now echoed through the halls of progress, synonymous with a new era of inclusive, empathetic, and truly effective healthcare. She was not just a doctor, she was the architect of a future where talent knew no gender, and compassion was the most powerful medicine of all.